I, a 45-year-old woman, have been married to my husband, Michael, who is 50, for the past decade. We first crossed paths in our early 30s at a local art gallery, both drawn to the same painting. Our conversation sparked an instant connection, leading to a date. As we got to know each other, it felt like a timeless connection. Being the oldest of 3 children in a financially constrained family, I learned early on the value of hard work. Despite limited resources, my dad instilled a strong work ethic in us. Through dedication, I managed to put myself through college, even taking up modeling gigs on the side. By the time I graduated, I had no debt and had climbed the corporate ladder to become a junior associate. Michael, in contrast, hailed from a financially comfortable background. His family, blessed with financial stability, easily covered his college expenses. Thanks to his father's influential position, Michael secured an internship and carved his path within the company through dedication and effort. Despite our differing backgrounds, Michael and I found common ground in our shared passions for art and music, which deepened our love for each other. However, Michael had a 17-year-old daughter, Candace, from his previous marriage. From the outset, Candace never warmed up to me. Despite meeting Michael long after his divorce, she seemed to hold me responsible for her parents' separation. Understanding her feelings, I gave her the space needed to come to terms with our relationship. For context, Michael and his ex-wife, Amelia, were married for only 3 years. Despite being college sweethearts, their decision to marry brought about a significant change for the worse. Amelia, a stay-at-home mother, betrayed Michael by being involved with his best friend, Tom, during a work trip. This betrayal shattered Michael, losing the 2 most important people in his life on the same day. The aftermath led to a bitter divorce, with Amelia determined to retain ownership of their house, which originally belonged to Michael. The battles extended into a challenging custody dispute over their daughter, Candace. Despite Amelia's infidelity, the judge didn't grant her ownership of the house but did grant joint custody to both parents, ensuring Candace's continued connection with both. Amelia's lingering anger manifested over the years as she manipulated Candace's feelings, turning her against her father. In contrast, Michael chose not to disclose his ex-wife's infidelity to their daughter, attempting to shield her from the painful details of their past. I learned about all of this when Michael, in an act of complete honesty, shared his past with me when we started dating. To foster bonding and create an opportunity for understanding, Michael invited Candace to join us on a trip to Africa. I was optimistic and thought it could be a turning point for our relationship. Unfortunately, it didn't quite go as planned. During the trip, Candace seemed irritated with me and often erupted into sudden, unprovoked anger if I got too close to Michael. She would lash out, using hurtful words like, "gold digger." Michael was quick to admonish her behavior, but she would just smirk at me, making it clear that she wasn't ready to accept me into her life. Despite the complexity of his ex-wife and daughter, our love for each other was strong, and I was willing to navigate these challenges with him. After a whirlwind romance, we got married in a small, intimate ceremony with our closest friends and family. Amelia and Candace never attended our wedding despite our invitation. Our marriage started great, and we traveled the world while continuing with our jobs. I was deeply passionate about my career and had no intention of giving it up. Meanwhile, Amelia lived with Tom after their divorce, and Candace had her apartment, thanks to Michael's financial support. She worked as a social media executive in a reputable company. 3 years into our marriage, we were overjoyed to welcome our son. However, the pregnancy had been tough on me, and it was made even harder whenever Candace came to visit. She would make cruel, unsolicited comments about my weight and appearance whenever Michael wasn't around, remarking how he would eventually leave me because I was fat. This deeply troubled me, and after sharing my concerns with Michael, he decided that Candace would no longer visit our home. They began meeting at cafes instead to avoid any further distress for me. When our son Nick was born, we were beyond happy. Despite becoming a parent, I was determined to keep working, so we hired a babysitter to help care for him when my maternity leave ended. Even though we were in a stable and comfortable place in our lives, I cherished my financial independence and the ability to continue pursuing my career. If Candace had issues with me before, they seemed to intensify after Nick came into our lives. At family events, which we would sometimes organize, she would target Nick, attempting to bully him, leaving our son in tears and seeking our help. While I understood her resentment towards me, I couldn't stand by and allow her to take her anger out on Nick, our innocent little boy. I banned her from ever coming to our house again, and we stopped hosting family events at our house. Now, coming to the issue at hand, as we were getting older, John and I realized the importance of planning for the future. We decided to create a will to ensure our affairs were in order. Given that John had already provided a flat for Candace, he designated me and our son as the inheritors of our family home. His remaining assets, the money in his personal savings account, would go to Candace. Meanwhile, I had my assets, which I intended to leave to my son, ensuring that he would be well taken care of throughout his life. We both felt this was the right decision to secure our family's future and provide for Nick as he grew up. When Amelia and Candace got wind of our will, all hell broke loose. I'm not sure if Michael mentioned it by mistake or if his parents did, but they were not happy at all. Amelia called Michael, demanding that they deserved to have the house as she was married to him first, but he firmly stood his ground. He reiterated that he had always provided for Candace, from child support to college expenses, even buying her an apartment. Michael assured Amelia that he would ensure Candace's future but intended to leave the property to our son. This seemed to anger her even further, prompting Amelia to send me a long text message where she called me every name in the book. I showed Michael the message, and he asked me not to engage with her further, advising me to block her immediately. The following day, Candace showed up at our doorstep, clearly upset. I knew she was here to discuss the will with us. To avoid creating a scene in front of our son, I quickly arranged for my parents to pick him up, leaving just the three of us. Candace made her intentions known, insisting that my son and I should give up the property because, as Michael's firstborn, she believed she deserved the house. Despite feeling irritated, I remained silent, looking to Michael to handle the situation. He explained to Candace that he had always provided her with everything needed in life. Michael assured her that he would be leaving her his savings and emphasized his commitment to securing my and our son's future. Leaving the family property to us was his way of ensuring our well-being. Candace again shifted her focus onto me, insisting that she expected me to do the right thing. I calmly expressed my support for my husband's decision, which only seemed to infuriate her. She raised her voice and threatened to take me to court. At this point, I didn't want to escalate the situation any further and requested that she leave us alone. As anticipated, in a few weeks, I received a legal notice informing me that both Candace and Amelia were taking me to court over the property. Their accusations included the claim that I married Michael for his money and had manipulated him into taking away their family property. Michael and I consulted our lawyer, and we were assured that Candace and Amelia didn't have strong legal grounds to support their claims. However, despite the legal advice, I couldn't shake my worries, particularly because I didn't want our son to experience the drama surrounding this family dispute. As the court date approached, the tension in our household grew. In court, Amelia's lawyer was relentless in their efforts to assert that Michael needed to prioritize his first child, Candace, above all else. Their arguments centered on pushing for a full-blown trial to determine the property's ownership. Since we lived in Colorado, the legal system required us to go through a jury trial, which only added to the complexity of the situation. The looming court trial had both Michael and me on edge, especially since Amelia's lawyer was resorting to some dirty tactics, digging up our past to make their case in court. Our lawyer was doing his best, but the situation was undeniably stressful. During this time, out of the blue, we received an unexpected call from Tom, who insisted on meeting us at home. Since the painful discovery of Tom's involvement with Amelia, Michael had cut off all ties with his once best friend and didn't want to meet him. I convinced him to hear Tom out, just in case it would help us resolve this dispute sooner. When Tom came over to our house, we were half expecting it to be another one of the opposing lawyer's ploys to undermine our case. However, to our surprise, Tom was here with a different intention: to talk. He revealed that he was here to confess something that would be incredibly difficult for Michael to hear. Michael sat motionless as Tom disclosed that Amelia had been seeing him behind Michael's back for a very long time, and they had been romantically involved even before Amelia became pregnant. I held my breath as Tom continued, disclosing a bombshell that none of us had expected. When Amelia got pregnant, she confided in him that she believed the child was his. However, because Michael was financially more stable, she had chosen to keep the truth hidden and remain in the marriage. Tom had pleaded with her to reveal the real father to Michael, but she had consistently refused to do so. I couldn't believe how Amelia could manage to keep this a secret for so long, and the audacity she had for fighting over the property while keeping this monumental secret from Michael. It was mind-boggling how she had maintained this charade for so many years, all the while causing such turmoil within our family. Tom explained that he had kept silent all these years because he believed that Amelia truly loved him. However, witnessing the pain that we were going through because of the court trial, he finally saw her for who she was. He started weeping, asking Michael to forgive him. Michael, still in a state of shock, sat there silently. I was filled with anger and frustration, especially seeing the emotional turmoil that my husband was going through. This man believed his whole life that Candace was his daughter, and now he was being told that it was all a lie. I had chosen to remain silent in the past whenever Amelia and Candace were rude to me, as I wanted to maintain a cordial relationship with them. However, with the truth now out in the open, there was no point in continuing this charade. I promptly contacted our lawyer and relayed the confession Tom had made. Our lawyer informed us that for our statements to be held in court, we would need to provide concrete evidence, such as a DNA test. So, we decided to invite Candace over for dinner, using the pretense of wanting to meet her. We planned to discreetly collect a glass or a spoon from her for a test, which would help strengthen our case. Candace, though surprised, agreed to come over. Her demeanor was as rude as ever, and she continued to belittle me and my son. She remained confident that she and her mother would win the case, taunting me that I would be losing everything soon. I chose to ignore her comments, hoping that this would be the last time we would need to endure such behavior. After she left, we immediately reached out to our lawyer so he could collect Candace's cup for a DNA test. On the day we were scheduled to appear in court, we received the news that Tom's confession was accurate. Candace was indeed his daughter. As I let out a sigh of relief, I couldn't help but feel empathy for my husband, who had been dragged into this turmoil because of his ex-wife's lies and manipulation. I informed the lawyer that I was ready to take the stand that day and share our side of the story in court. My lawyer agreed, as this would be the best course of action for us to reveal the truth. As I took the stand, I felt a mix of emotions: anger at Amelia for her deceit, sympathy for Michael, and determination to protect our family's rights. Taking the stand in front of the jury, I braced myself and began answering our lawyer's questions. In court, we delved into my past, my career, and the fact that I never gave up on my job even after we got married. I recounted the emotional torment, taunts, and abuse endured by both Amelia and Candace over the years, presenting screenshots as proof. I highlighted Candace's refusal to accept my presence and her verbal abuse toward our son. Then, I revealed Tom's confession to the jury, exposing the dirty secret Amelia had kept hidden for so long. Candace, in disbelief, exchanged angry whispers with her lawyer. Our lawyer presented the DNA results, confirming Tom as Candace's real father. Amelia looked defeated, and Candace, once confident of victory, now grappled with the fallout of her mother's actions. With everything out in the open, there were no grounds for Amelia and Candace to stand on. The jury swiftly reached a verdict, awarding us the inheritance of our family home, as Michael had always wanted. The court acknowledged that Candace and Amelia had no legitimate claim to it. In the aftermath, we received mixed reactions from close family and friends. While the majority understood our situation and agreed with our actions, a few deemed it cruel to reveal the truth in court rather than to Candace personally. So, I turned to Reddit, seeking your thoughts. Do you believe it was wrong for us to refuse to part with our property for our stepdaughter and eventually unveil everything in court instead of addressing her privately? Update 1: It's been 3 days since my last update, and I've read all your comments and advice. Many of you believe that Candace might have already known about her mother's lies, but that seems impossible based on the genuine shock on her face when we revealed the DNA test results in court. Winning the court trial has lifted a huge weight off my shoulders. I choose not to dwell on the negative opinions of some relatives who think we did something wrong. We didn't choose to be dragged into court by Amelia and Candace. We simply revealed the truth. I no longer worry about my future, and I'm content with the outcome. However, my main concern these days is my husband, Michael. He is still reeling from the shock of learning the truth about Candace's birth father, and his world has been turned upside down. He hasn't been able to eat or sleep well since finding out that she isn't his daughter. I can't imagine the pain he must be going through to accept this truth. Amelia put him through hell during their divorce, and now that we know Tom is her father instead, he just doesn't know how to handle that information. I suggested that Michael go for therapy, as he needs to talk to a professional who can help him navigate this challenging situation. I have already booked his appointment, and he will start therapy next week. Update 2. It's been 1 month since my last update, and we've managed to move on from this situation to a certain extent. As mentioned before, my husband has been attending therapy regularly, and I can see him getting better, though full recovery will take time. Unexpectedly, last week, Candace reached out to us. We honestly didn't expect her to want to talk after everything that happened. She called to express her apologies for what we've been through. I wasn't sure if her apology was genuine or if she was upset about her mother's actions, but I didn't press the issue. Candace shared that she had always been jealous of me, thinking I had taken her father away. She admitted to harboring resentment, something I was already aware of. She believed that her father was the one who had cheated on her mother. However, during the court proceedings, when the truth came out that it was Amelia who had cheated, she realized she'd been living a lie her whole life. Candace begged Michael not to stop being a part of her life, and he reassured her that he'd always be her father, no matter who her birth father was. This brought her to tears, and it seemed like she needed that confirmation all along. Candace also apologized to me for what she put me through and hoped I'd forgive her one day. I didn't want to pretend everything was okay between us because it wasn't, and it would take time before I could be in the same room with her. Lately, I've been focusing on our family and my son. I couldn't spend much time with him during the court trial, so I'm planning a secret family vacation to take time off and celebrate. Hopefully, this getaway will help us relax and recharge. I'll provide another update if something interesting happens. Update 3. After 3 months of no contact, Amelia showed up at our doorstep. I was torn about letting her in, but I was worried about the neighbors overhearing any potential shouting, as she had done that before. Reluctantly, we allowed her in, but we made it clear that any outbursts would lead to a call to the police. Amelia explained that Tom had decided to leave her and asked her to move out of his house by the end of the month. She was in tears as she revealed that he didn't want to marry her anymore after witnessing what Michael and I had gone through. With nowhere to go, she wanted to move in with Candace, even though Candace strongly opposed the idea. We learned that since the trial, Candace had cut off all contact with her mother, accusing her of manipulation. Amelia was only here because she wanted us to talk to Candace regarding this situation. She wanted us to convince Candace to let her mother move in. Before I could say something, I witnessed my husband lose his temper for the first time. He firmly told Amelia that he had purchased the apartment for Candace only, and it was Candace's decision whether she could live with her. He expressed how she never even bothered to apologize after cheating on him all those years and now expected us to help her out. He told her that he was glad Tom had seen the truth and was leaving her. Amelia tried to justify her lies, saying that she feared being kicked out of the house while she was pregnant, and had she revealed the truth earlier to Michael. I couldn't listen to her excuses any longer, so I asked her to leave. I felt we had given her a fair chance to explain herself, and there was no point in prolonging the conversation. After Amelia departed, Michael reached out to Candace to warn her about the possibility of her mother forcing her to let her stay in the apartment. He emphasized that if she allowed it, there would be no way to make Amelia leave. Candace assured him that she had no intention of allowing that. She planned to change the locks to prevent Amelia from entering and would inform her mother that she was unwelcome. As for me, I've had my fill of this drama. Lately, I have been discussing with Michael the idea of selling our family home and relocating to another state to escape this turmoil. I emphasized that for the sake of our son and our marriage, we needed to seriously consider this move. Although it is a tough decision, Michael has come to accept it, particularly since Amelia's unannounced visit demonstrated that we need to put some distance between us and her. Given the uncertainty of whether she will ever leave us in peace, moving out of this city seems like the best choice. Michael's job can be done remotely, and I'm open to starting fresh at a new company if it means finding happiness away from these toxic people. We will begin the process of selling our family home next month, and hopefully by the end of this year, we will be starting afresh in the new place. It is time for us to turn the page on this chapter of our lives and begin a new one. Stay tuned for more stories from our channel.